We just don't really use ourselves to our best.
But yeah, there's some programs on the internet if you want to actually study that, they have. But that's huge, 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 and that's what, when you're in this phase of learning, just putting these pictures in your mind a lot. I don't love to look at cadaver pictures and pictures of bodies, I don't love it, it's kind of gross. It's a little gross for me, and but I have done it, there is some videos that we'll watch. Where they're opening the body and opening through the fascia. Not too gnarly though, pretty medical, but I find it all kind of gnarly. But whatever it is, whatever way it is that you develop your mind's eye, it's super important. It will be half, how to say. Yeah, it will be half imagination. Like developing your imagination, and it will be half like studying and having the visual to create an imagination around. Because if you don't have the visual already, like, it's like, let me buy an emoji pack, and then you can use that emoji pack, but you have to have like the visual in there already. And it will be extremely helpful. Let me show you this, let me show you this. So yes, it's the end on manual, I don't know the page. I have it in the digital. So let's check it out. You guys see that? So this is a cross section of the leg. If I chop it's your right leg. If I chop it right in half. So this circle in the middle is the bone. Quad. Hip flexors. That go up. On the outside, the IT band. So if I'm thinking of it as segments, okay. So the circle, the bone is in the middle. Quad and hip flexor. I have this top quadrant. And then this crescent on top, glute and IT band. The one that runs down and through here and the bottom little pie slice hamstring. And then the inner thigh. That adds up. So when we were in some of the stretches yesterday, some of you were like, I'm feeling it in the hamstring, I'm feeling it in the back of the leg. Because you would have been on this line, like maybe a triangle here, a segment of where you were attacking, so. Since I've changed my approach to yoga to this is from my yin training. It's made it a lot. I can be more thorough. I can treat it more like systematic. It's not just about my feeling. Yes, I have intuitive practice also. But I try to think about this instead of going, remember I said, check what are the poses that you like and the ones you go to and the ones you stay away from. When I use it, this method of thinking, it's not about what I like or what I don't like. I'm just like, check, 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 check. You know, so I think about the body in a very like systematic way instead of being necessarily just following a sequence. Maybe if I go through the sequence, I might bypass the focus and attention on a particular segment, you know, I might just let it won't be so directed focus. And yeah, I just like check, 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 check. And then that way you can kind of use that approach on your body as maintenance, like it's a equation. It's not your inspiration. So that's when we have. That's when our interest goes and comes up, and as we know, it does for humans, we have things we're interested in, and I'm all about this right now, or I'm all about this right now. When I approached it this way, didn't really matter. I'm like, oh, I gotta do my segments. You know, like I have to do for my maintenance, I have to do my segments. This other little photo right here. This is the torso. This one. Sorry. So these little green are my abs, the little square. The moon is the obliques. And then the little. And then. That's the spine. Or you just, a very big. Exactly, that's the spine, and then the red are your intrinsic back muscles, or your spine. So we have two muscles. Like a, looks like this more so. A group of muscles that run down the back, and that's what is responsible to keep us up. And that's what's responsible usually when you have back pain also, for most people, erector spinae, so they run. On either side of the spine, like right down between all of these spinous processes. Okay. We have from here. Those two red dots. And then there. So when we're doing in. For the torso. What do we have there? We have this one. We started, or sorry, this one. Forward. And then we had going to the side. There's one leg out. Abs, we didn't do anything for abs anymore. Well, you could say you did a little bit of ab stretching when we did quad stretch. Okay, you're open, you're in a bit of a heart opener, but it wasn't so aggressive. Usually. Usually I would do like some type of cobra mod for that. But yeah, so thinking about the body as segments rather than parts, but having the ability to think about the body as art also. Yeah, because then it just makes your practice more clinical, and sometimes that's more easy. You don't need to overthink. Oh, what poses am I going to? Oh, I have, just get the segments, check them. Just check them. It's much easier that way. Go back to the schedule. So we'll do a practice this morning. I want to do the ab works we did yesterday for you guys to get them. We're making segments of the body. And then we'll do like a circular, go into the circular joint warm-up. Explore that a little bit. Do a general warm-up. I want to review poses that we did yesterday. We did warrior one, we did mountain, crescent pose, awkward pose, warrior one and warrior two. That we did pose breakdown. I'd like to review warrior one and warrior two today and break down downward dog. So downward dog is like probably the most famous yoga pose ever, and so many people do it wrong. So we're gonna go into that and spend quite a bit of time. And the reason I'm picking or choosing these poses to start with is they kind of, if you can remember the rules or the pleasure indications and the safety for all of those, you're kind of good for all of the other poses. So pay attention to the contraindications there, because when you get to other poses that I didn't break down, because we're gonna do it over the whole course, it's gonna be the same principles that apply, okay? So, let's get started. Schedule. I think, I keep thinking it's Sunday, so I look at the schedule, I see Saturday, I'm like, oh, what? And so, yeah, I have no idea what day it is. So I call my friend, I go, I'm at Carol Festival last night, and he goes, what are you doing there? It's Friday. I was like, I want to come get some cake. And I was like, maybe I'll go for a walk or something, I was like, I need to go for a walk. I was like, sitting with it. And he's like, it is Friday. I was like, you're right. So let's come onto our back and start to bring in the breath. There for you. You can consider one of the supports with the block. We've done two supports with the block so far while we're laying. We've done support under the upper back for a passive heart opener stretch, and we've also done support under the low back. If you'd like, let me show you something with this low back stretch. Block under the low back. And when I position it for myself, I kind of go up and then pull myself back. Because I want to think of flattening out this part. So remember we have the curve that way. I want to really think of it lengthening when I'm on the floor, when I'm placed in there. So I have a little bit of a pull. Kind of like slide, and then even it's like lifting a little bit. Because I'm trying to do that. So it'll take a little bit of time before you know the proper spot for yourself, but that's what I'm thinking when I go there. So the block under the hips is a really nice way to kind of maybe you sleep on our side. Most of us do sleep on our side. You know, maybe you sleep on your side, but your hips became out of alignment, or it happens every day, actually. Or maybe they're just perpetually out of alignment. So this is a great way to kind of stabilize the hips, or even see if you have a bit of destabilization. And when you have your legs straightened and the block under, you get a very gentle stretch in the front of the hip flexors and across the front of the pelvis and the pubic bone. So very gentle. This would be in the category restorative when they're setting the body up. But you have to keep in mind restorative is different than yin. It's just not by much, but it is. Right? Yeah. Some people, when they're in this position, it's extreme pressure on the low back. And so if you're feeling like the pressure is too much, you guys all seem good. Then you can just bend the knees to relieve the pressure off the low back. But this is also from the concept we spoke on yesterday, the nutation. When you get a tiny bit of compression in that low back, a little bit of compression is good because it kind of puts that pressing into the area. And then when you remove it, a new fresh fluid will rush into the place, new fresh blood will rush into the place as it has it. So you're kind of like hydrating this area and you compress it within reason. So now in this position, if you need to make any adjustment, feel free to bend the knees or take the block at it any time, or just enjoy and watch the sensations that occur for you while you have it. So let's start to bring in our long breath. Just start to lengthen the breath and following it with your awareness for the first 4. So don't worry about the sound, just start to slowly lengthen your inhale and lengthen your exhale. And breathing in and watching the rise and the fall, feeling the rise and the fall of your belly and the expansion of the rib cage. And letting the body just relax, letting the hips, feeling them open a little bit in the back, creating space between the sacrum and the iliac crests. And slowly, as you continue to breathe with the lengthened inhale and the lengthened exhale, you can start to add your thick sound or your ocean sound. So the ujjayi, the ocean sounding breath, or victorious breath, all the same technique, just different names. Just bring it in. That thick sound. And then stay with it for 4 breaths. And bringing that breath, keep it strong. So when you get into teaching yoga, you're going to have, well, there's more than 2, but let's say for now, there's 2 types of students. You're going to have students who come to shut off their mind. And then you're having students who come to shut off their mind in like a Zen relaxing way. And then you have the people who come to shut off their mind in like the sweat push through kind of way. So people who would be coming to the sweat push through kind of way would be dying inside of their head right now to be relaxing on the floor like this. They want to start doing chaturanga, they want to do a burpee, you know, they like it's a whole different experience. You can get the same result from it. Like I clear my body, have oneness, but it will be important to know how you're sculpting the class. It's a super different personality type, it really is. So bringing that awareness to the breath, bringing that thickness to the breath. And slowly, let's bend both of our legs. Here, at this point, you can decide to leave your block or you can take it out. We're going to move into a circular joint warm-up. So with the legs bent, I'll bring one leg up and start to circle the ankle. You can have your block or take it out, it's up to you. And then at any time you want to add a block anywhere, go ahead. Okay, how would the block be during this? Try it out. So circling through the ankle, spreading the toes wide. And then shifting the other direction. Moving to that whole leg. Also, while you have the leg up and extended, you have your abs slightly engaged. See if you can engage through the low ab a little bit more. Plug your low back into the floor. Now with a little more space. After that, assist from the block. And then moving your awareness down into the knee of the leg that's up. And I'll give you flex and extend. Straighten and bend that knee. And I just will take my legs side to side a little bit. So when I take my legs side to side, as I'm flexing and extending the knee, and rotating the femur inside of the hip socket. And now keeping the knee bent, and as if you have a very long pencil and you're going to draw circles on the ceiling, and now focusing my movement into the femur rotation in the hip socket. So I'm gonna let little circles spiral outward until they go wide as they can. And circle back inward. All while keeping my consistent breath. That ujjayi breath. And then extending that leg straight up, give it a little shake. And then switch your legs. So bringing one to the floor, extending one up slowly. And so if we think about what we're doing now as segments of the body, we're moving just through, we're moving up the leg one at a time. Where's all the joints of my leg? How are they doing today? Breathing. And then circling in the other direction. Spreading through the foot, spreading through the toes, maybe a little pointing and flexing of the foot. And then moving the awareness down into your knee. Flex and extend, straighten and bend. Keep the breath. And then keeping that knee bent and bringing your focus into the hip socket on this other leg. Making little circles with the knee as if you're drawing the ceiling. And then let the circles become bigger, 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 and then circling back into where you started. And then swing your leg straight up and give it a little shake. And then bringing that leg down, so let's keep the knees bent here, because we can get more mobility in the pelvis when you're on your back. So we're going to start to, well, we're going to continue to breathe, but we're going to start to tilt the pelvis forward and back. So now think I'm pressing my sacrum, my whole sacrum as much as I can. Those 5 fused bones, I'm pressing them into the earth and tilting, kind of like your abdomen. And then as you exhale, pulling the abs, activating your abs. And pressing them back into the floor. So let's focus first our 4 breaths. So we're kind of doing the cat and cow action on the floor. Inhaling, letting the belly become wide, tilting the pelvis forward. And then exhale, pulling the belly button back towards the spine, pressing your back into the floor, like in the Pilates imprint. And focusing again now for the next 4 breaths. Inhale, filling the belly, stretching the ribs, stretching that whole torso, and exhale. Close, squeeze the abs, feel the low ribs squeeze together. Again, 2. So to help a little bit with the engagement of the abs, we're going to break down 4 different ab exercises to help you find all of the abs. For a lot of people, the abs is just like this area in the front of the body. So we're gonna go into a little detail in there. So from your position on the floor, if you're in your inhale with the pelvis arched, you can exhale and pull the belly button towards the spine, press with the feet a little bit into the floor, press your whole back into the floor as though you're making a print, a shape of your back into the mat. So from here, we're going to keep the feet bent. And I'm going to really press my back into the floor. I'm going to think of pulling, and I'm just going to lift my head and look between my knees a little bit and bring my legs. So it's just like I'm coming into a little bit of a crunch, a little crunch position, not too high up. What I want to think is the abs pulling in, and I'm sliding my hands along the floor, this feeling of towards my heels and my shoulders. We're kind of rolling them up, back and down. So when I slide my arms down, I'm going like this. And like this. When I'm on the floor like this, I'm going down and like this. So the action of my arm, I feel like I'm going like this action towards my heels. So this helps put my scapula on the floor and also concave in my abs. So with this action here, I use it to lift me up towards a little bit. We'll hold and we'll just do little like not 100, but like Pilates 100s. We'll reach and you can just do a little breath. And just engage and hold your abs and burning a little bit. Doesn't have to be so long. Here's 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and stretch. So just a little activation. Think of pulling your back into the floor. Every time you exhale here, girls, push into the floor. I'm even using my feet to push me into the floor. So pushing into the floor with the feet and the back, I'm going to engage those muscles and just lift one knee and then place it down. I'm going to alternate knee lifts. And while I'm up, my other leg is pushing strongly. So I'm just trying to feel that engagement where the leg connects to the low abs. You can bring your hands even in just above the hip bone or on the inside of the hip bone and just feel when that leg comes up. We'll just feel that engagement. What happens if I extend the leg out and bring it in like a reverse bicycle? Out and in. Out and in. Can you feel that little fire igniting in the little abs. Out and in, and I'm really pressing my back into the floor, don't let it arch up out of the floor. Out and in, you feel that? So really just gentle ab engagement, we're kind of in the transverse ab right now, actually. Not in the, yeah, not in the abdominals, that are your outer ab. And out. Out. And out and in. So from that movement, next, let's bring both knees in. Press your back into the floor, extend both legs up. So I want my legs above my hips, not super above my head, like I don't want them in like this or down, but I want them straight above my hips. And point your toes. So I'm just kind of squeezing my legs together. So from here, we're going to access our upper abs. Upper abs is right here in the concave of your rib. So I'm going to bring my face towards my knee in that arm position that we did, and I'm going to lift, little exhale. I didn't talk to you, serious, stand down, yeah. Don't talk to me, serious. So from here, we're doing obliques. And then I'll just be lifting, it's as if I'm bringing the bottom of my rib to the top of my hip. So I'm just kind of crunching up. Up, and I have my other hand in the back, I'm supporting my head. And up, and up, so I'm gonna squeeze the side button, up. Up, up, for 4. And 3. And 2. And 1, and hold your last one, and then open the arm overhead, stretch it out. So anytime I do any like pumping little calisthenics or working out style movement, I pair it with a long flowing movement, because for me, I don't want to have ever like too bulky muscles. I hate it when technology talks to me and I didn't ask it anything. Um, and up, and up, and reach, and reach, and reach, and it can just be a tiny movement for 4 and 3, and 2, and 1. And then again, extend that arm back and stretch and breathe into the work. So you want to come to a position like this.
What are you doing over here? Siri or Zoom or whoever you are?
Um, So from this straight position, flex the feet, so I'm like making my body tight and long. And then from there, I'm gonna crunch. I'm gonna think of closing my low ab, or my upper abs, sorry, and the low abs, and bring my big toes together as much as I can. And trying to make my body like a line of energy. I'm gonna come up until it's like strong, and I'm gonna do little lifts. So lift, lift with this engagement, and my toes are like pulling up, 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 up. You can go little X, yeah. For 10, 9, 8, to be burning. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, and extend. So we actually have 5 different efforts, but. And now let's roll it over. What is going on? As far as any time that you come to sitting here, what do I do with hands? So there's a few ways that you can put your hands, really just let them go at first. And then if you're starting to direct the energy more with mudra, you can arms, hands down like this. It's like you're keeping your energy in your own orbit. It's like, okay, it's my own. All three. And you exhale, let the head come back to center, holding down, and then I'm just gonna kind of like I'm drawing a line back and forth with my nose, I'm gonna keep my chin down and just like turn my head gently side to side. And then slowly kind of roll your head back up onto the top of the neck, and remember those little head circles we had, so think of circling the chin. Maybe you hear like some little calcification when you hear the little crunchies, that's what it is. Calcification. So making small circles. So taking it like a level more sensitive, going into the eyes. So moving your eyes. In Indian dance and in classical Indian poses, they use the drishti or the gaze point a lot more than they do in, now we'll cue it in warrior, we'll cue it, okay, your gaze is here. But Vedic history, and when you look into Bharatanatyam and things from the Bhagavad Gita, so the text, the Vedic text from India, they have very, very detailed storytelling dances, and a lot, I believe, a lot of this form of yoga came from that, even though we were saying their bodies sprung into the poses from the prana, their bodies also sprung into these shapes for dancing. So they use their eyes and expression a lot, and it's been shown that um, our optic nerve, like so when the eye goes and connects back, it's also like muscles are behind it, also holding. Like your eyes slowly can open. So can you feel all that activation inside of your skull from moving your eyes? You guys feel that? your eyeball muscles. Like, when did you zoom in on those recently, have you? You know, so even the eyeball muscles, they will do a lot. We'll have also a module, a little bit of the muscles of the face later on. I've been doing face yoga or face hit high intensity interval training mixed with yoga for like 2 years. Um, People always ask me where I got my, I'm looking tired today, I do. But people are always like, who did your Botox? I don't have Botox, honey, I just do face yoga. So just as we do yoga for the abs, or fitness for the abs, there's every single tiny muscle group of the body that could use that. You know, so we're thinking, if we wanna think globally of the body, we wanna think like, we wanna infuse chi into every part of our body, because that's how we stay lively when we have imbalances, or when we have adhesions, or when we have asymmetry or misalignment, it's simply prana is not passing, or chi is not passing, something is trapped and stuck. So how to get something untrapped and stuck is like little movement, opening slowly, and then flushing again with fresh energy, fresh water, fluid, whatever it is that we have. So you can think about that for all parts of the body, especially around the eyes. They do so much for us all day long, even they don't want to. You know, they don't want to. Like, we subject our eyes to see a lot, and sometimes I think I'm working. And like, I wish I could just work and I didn't have to look because my eyes are so tired. You know, like, if I'm looking, I'm like, my eyes are so tired, but I have to finish working. Um, that I can't work without. Like, I you super need them. So also just like taking care of that health. So let's go back the gaze, just closing your eyes lightly. And I'm gonna go back to this one, the corner up and the corner over. So the up to down. And also, the side, just side to side cross, so I might have the side, my side eye, super side eye. And then come through center and then over to super side eye, so I'm gonna go up, over. And then back, and then in my side eye, over, back, and then up to the other side, to back. And then side eye, and back, so I'm starting on one side. Doesn't matter what side you start on. I'm just really trying to take my eyes for a full tour. And really pay attention inside of the head. That's where it's all happening. Inside. And just a couple more. And don't forget to add the blink, it helps a lot to not get so overtired with the eyes. And then we'll take the heel of our palm and just place them over your eyes like this. We'll just go into darkness for a moment. Breathe. Inhale and exhale, and then you can slowly release all your eyes. Let her rock open. So yeah, feel it inside behind the forehead. That sensation behind the forehead, inside of it. And I think we understand as a concept that our brain is something. Like, we know that, but we don't really know that. You know what I mean? We know that, but we don't really know that. So when we think of the space that I can feel my eyes, then like the brain is behind it, on top of that, even still. It's not that big of a space. Like, it's like, you know, so the eyes are quite big. I'm going like this, taking up that much space. So then the brain is like, closed on top of that short. And so now let's just take our hands here over our sinus and just. So just easy on that delicate skin there, and I'm taking it like just over my cheekbone towards my ears. Just do two more. And then we'll do the same thing on the eyebrow, so we have sides, both of these places. And then just taking it over to the temple. And then sweeping from the temple down behind the ear and just down the neck. We'll do a few of those. So from the temple down behind the ear. And getting the neck. Two more like that. So back and down. And you can also do like in front and behind the ear if you like the behind the ear. Do something really massage down and then down and down. Side. And then down. And then just sit and breathe, feel that space in the head. So giving your eyes and your brain as structures some attention. They do. It's not like, oh, I'm so grateful for you. Like actual physical acts of service is their love language. The body's love language is acts of service, acts of presence, actually. So now let's keep this vibe, this like more spaciousness lifted through the head, and we'll start to lift the shoulder, roll them back. You can also, I'm going to take my chest a little bit forward. I'm going to allow a little bit of movement in my upper back. So. Repeating somebody has those to the side and me let that reverberate or wave through my arm. And then left. If I allow my arm to turn toward a rotation, if I rotate forward, and then I open when I rotate back. So playing with your rotation, I'm kind of closing. Remember this move that we did with the crunches? It's kind of similar. Open, and I'm kind of leaning forward with my elbows, and then opening back. I'm going to start to bring catty cows, so kind of like, okay, and come back. And so now taking it back, I'm starting to rock. I'm nice and slow into the bed, sitting back. Continue forward. So just forward. And leave like that. And then one. And as we take the hands back, let's let the fingers walk back and then pull the chest forward away from it. So I'm gonna, and I'll pull my elbows to just change that stretch. Stretch to the front of the body. And just relax. So I wanted to talk a little bit about circular today and this warm up for half and circular. So for the rib cage, we just took it front and we took it back and we took it front and we took it back, and I can start to kind of body roll or undulate a little bit from this. So I think if that's a new movement for you, I think like I'm sliding my chest forward and then I'll do a little lift to bring it back and then I bring it back and back to wait so it'll form up lift. So I have the circle kind of happening this way, and I can even use my hands to help me forward and up, and then exhale so I can take it even into my back and forward. So undulations and waves are really not in yoga at all. And they're super important for fascial health and health of the spine. So you'll hear me say again for the whole 7 months we're working together that the whole body is in spirals, everything is in spirals, everything is in circles, nothing is linear. So linear movement can go so far, but then for tensibility, which is the tension and integrity of the fascia, it really needs all kinds of movement. I was training with movement cruel. So we have forward and back plane, that's what we're learning, and we have our lateral plane or side plane. So if I think we've done rope slides back and forth, but I want to kind of make it like an 8, an infinity. So I'm going to think of coming up with my rib cage and down to the side and then lifting. And then so I'm going through a side bend up. And then I'm going to go from the side up. Release the floor at first. And just really opening through those muscles of the ribs, intercostal muscles. So that's the muscles that sit in between the meat in between your rib cage. So kind of going side to side. There's also horizontal circles where I'm thinking like this action and this action front and back, I combine it with the side and side. So I'm thinking a circle. And remember, I mentioned the circle of the hips and the circle of the rib cage. So I can think of like taking one above the other. And this really accounts for our whole shape of what we are. So when we're just doing linear front and back and side, there's also like those little like quarter segments in the middle that we're missing. So when you go into circles, you will hit everywhere. If circles are a new concept in your movement, you might find that there's a part of the circle that's like sticking. It's very normal. I call that a squircle. Where it's not quite, not quite a square, not quite a circle. Squircle. It's a thing. So take note of where that's sticking or jamming or it's not smooth. And how much, usually what is required is go super slow, like ultra slow mo. And be like, okay, can I get that whole crest or arc of that circle there? It usually takes super slow mo. Super slow mo in the body is really difficult for a lot of people. It will help with your yin. Because we're just like used to glitching out. We're used to tweaking out, running around all the time. So when you go super, super slow, it's a whole different world for the muscle fiber. Make sure you go both ways. This is a really all-encompassing way to make sure you kind of hit all the segments of the body. Combining with aesthetic or visual or art. The circle can also look really nice if that's what your jam is. And it just also feels nice. You don't even have to see it. So something. Engage. And then breathing. So now I can really like feel where is my breath, the front, the back, the side. So when you're cued and you're said, you know, breathe into the ribs, expand the ribs. Well, after you do circles, you can really visualize and feel the ribs a lot more. The ribs are circular. And so often we think of again breathing up into the top of that. I want you to really feel like in your back ribs when you breathe. Breathe into your back ribs, that cue, you'll get it all the time. My class, many teachers yoga class, breathe into the back ribs, they'll say it all the time. That's what they mean. They want you to breathe, take into account your full tube-ness of your body. So let's keep this circle vibe going, but we're going to transfer into table pose with it. And take it kind of in a cat and cow. So we can breathe here. And then when I'm in cat and cow pose, I'm able to bring my hips into it also. We can leave you tilting and tilting to the side and making your circle. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's what word is it, just stopping the replay. We continue. And so bring yourself into a table pose, and then we'll just start to slide forward and back with the inhale and exhale. So inhale, slide forward. And exhale, slide back. Just stretching through the spine. Take your time with your breath. One more inhale, one more exhale. And then inhale yourself back to table pose. So then I'll bring my knees down again closer together. I'm going to go extend my right leg and my straight leg and left hand. Just reach out, reach out, reach out. Extend, 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 and then bring it in. So alternating with the breath, alternate hand, alternate leg, hand. And exhale. Keep alternating. So two more foot, three more foot each side. Reach, reach, reach. So I want you to think, remember balancing angle yesterday in that pose. Think about when we put the leg back and we rotated, when the foot was rotated open, my hips open, and when it was rotated in, I could be more stable. So experiment with that concept. And again, notice the position of your leg. It's super important for your hip position, for your back position. Observe yourself. And one more. So bring my hands and the feet down. I'm going to curl my toes under. I'm going to press that and just lift off the floor a little bit of ab engagement. And then walk the hands up, back, 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 and fold forward. So you can have your legs as bent or as straight as you like. You can bring the elbows on the knees. Just enjoy. We'll do 4 breaths in a forward fold variation. I like to alternate straightening and bending my legs here. I'll give one leg a little more. Needs to stretch, needs to open. And bend the knees. Take yourself up, slowly working your way up. So continuing, we have the circles in the rib cage on the floor. So we'll just take a wide step and we'll just start to bring that into the hips. So we have like side, side, front and back, side and side. Often we access that like this, our side bends in yoga, more so like this. So let's use that concept, pressing the hip out, pressing the hip out, and then pressing the hips forward, opening like our camel pose last night, modified, and then back, curling the tail under like we're doing in cat and cow, these actions. So when I combine it all together, you have a big hip circle. When I go back, I will bend my knees. And so just kind of circling it out. This is a really awesome morning one where you can just kind of be like, how's it going in there today? When I lived in Vancouver, Canada, West Coast Canada, there's a high Chinese population there. And when I would walk to work, the old Chinese men would be in doing their qigong in the morning, doing their hips. Like I would always walk in on that part. That's like so I would always walk in on this part when they're doing big circles. And reverse your direction. So again, taking into account the full shape of our body when we do circles. And it's completely acceptable to do movement variations in your warm-up. Like I wouldn't bust this out in the middle of a yoga class. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be like, now we're doing circles, because it doesn't have context or meaning unless it was a workshop on that. But adding different riffings or things that are new in your life or things that are interesting that you've tried and you're like, hey, I really would love to share that with my students. Super fine to put into your warm-up. That's when you can put your like experimental stuff in there. And students are like, oh, that was cool, you know, like you're like, oh yeah, just a little something I wrote down on the way. Yeah. That's like when our band's in tour, like, oh yeah, we wrote that song on the way. That's like a joke in bands, like, oh, that's awesome. We're like, yeah, we just wrote that on the way. All right, and so coming back into your center, just bring your legs close together, mountain pose, if you will, and now stand with that circle feeling in the body. We went into the eyes, the neck, and the head, rib cage. See if you can just feel that like very subtle oscillation of the body. Every time that you're standing still, nothing is standing still, even the plants, everything has this like subtle like oscillation. Just kind of tap into that. Just like we're breathing all the time and we don't notice. There's a lot going on all the time that we don't notice. Thank God, actually. I notice enough. All right, and give yourself like a shake. Do you feel that little like this small oscillation of the body? If you just like, even when you're sitting in meditation, if you just tune into that, it's like the body, like your body is moving. It's your cerebral spinal fluid. It's just like moving tiny, like you can't see it from the outside, but this tiny pulse is our pulse and our electricity. It's never gonna just be like then it's like spiraling, moving, like all like plants and trees and everything. Thanks. Yeah, exactly. It's like now the energy, how do your eyes feel? Yeah, more open, right? And then yeah. So I'm gonna break down. Work with that. Downward dog is like I would say it's controversial in the way we look at the world. Yeah. I'd say it's controversial. It's done so much. And it's done wrong a lot. I've seen a lot of adjustments teachers have done on students that are not good. I've had ones done on some teachers that are also not good. It is weird. That's it's a complicated but necessary pose if you're a yoga teacher. And not, I shouldn't say complicated. Yeah, I like I was telling you, I mix all movements together. I like mix everything. And I mix everything together. I had a class for a while that I called choppy. It's choppy. It's like the steps from Indian dance, like the different so I did a lot of those because they shake the lymphatic in the leg. I love that class. Yeah, I love that class. I love Indian dance. I'm kind of like out of practice with it. I haven't studied it in a few years, but one of my friends, one of my teachers and friends, Lena Shakti, she opened Village Greece. She has a villa in Greece that she does retreat. And I really want to get to her. She also does retreats in India.
Whereabouts in India?
Rajasthan.
I've been to Mysore.
Oh, okay.
I went when I was like 16
Oh, wow.
for like a youth trip.
Okay.
With my youth leader was to Ashtanga. And she took us to like the temple in Mysore.
What an experience.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I don't really want to go back to England.
Yeah, no,
Um,
Egypt is even enough for me.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, and
um,
I don't want to deal with like the being violently ill, everyone comes to happen.
oh my, I think it's probably the most sick I've.
Yeah, I don't want to deal with it. Everyone says, yeah, you just be prepared to be sick for 2 weeks. I'm like, no. I don't want to prepare for that. Yeah, that.
Yeah.
I don't want to. I just. My story is more in the south, is that
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
that's
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I know it's more in the south. They have a lot of like treatment places there, the Aramaic treatment places. There.
It's like hippie heaven, you know.
Oh god, I hate stereotypes. I really
Mm.
like. And sometimes people are like, oh, you're like hippie, you're free spirit. I'm like, no, don't you say that. Yeah, I'm a free spirit, but I'm not a hippie. Like sometimes people just think all alternative people are hippies. Do you want me to support it?
Oh.
No, I can't handle the hippie category. It's not. And we're doing our tea and then we're gonna get ready for downward dog and pose lap. And we'll talk a little bit about our latest night or just the evening current afternoon, whatever. I don't know what time it is.
I always find the weekend so disorientated because in Egypt it's Friday, Saturday.
I never know what day it is. Yeah, it's still,
Sunday.
and I've been here for almost
Yeah.
10 years. Yeah.
So for me, I have like a 4-day weekend. It's like Thursday night, Friday, Saturday, so in my head.
I usually have students on Thursday night and Sunday night, so Friday and Saturday. You know, but I don't know. I don't really have weekends versus weekdays.
Yeah.
And sometimes because like I work for myself, right, and I can work from home or from a cafe, like I have to be like, now it's time to stop working. Now it's time to feel like it's your weekend. Now, like I have to very like tell myself like 5 times, no, it's time to stop. Yeah. I never done. Never stop.
That's it. About 2 years of running a business. It's just like I say, it's just one year.
Oh, dude, running your own business
Okay.
is not for the faint of heart, that's for sure. But I can't imagine asking someone for time off, so
Yeah, exactly.
I'll just keep it like this.
Please have time off. Good night, get family.
Yeah, you can.
Today, what do you need family?
Yeah, what do you need tonight? Yeah. Exactly, yeah. All right, so think about, Lana, I don't know if you were here yesterday when we broke down the teaching of the poses. I think you came after. So we did
mountain pose, we did half moon or Ardha Chandrasana or crescent. It had three names that I was like, is this the same one? Yes. We did awkward pose or Utkatasana also, warrior one and warrior two. So I'm going to, so think about those poses and like they're all in the video and everything, but think about those. If you can visualize them in your head, if you have any questions, maybe check it in your manual. And then check in your manuals or from your notes yesterday, girls that were here, the warrior one and warrior two, or just think about the pose and think about if you have any questions about it, because I'm going to recap it really quick, just some important things about it. So see if there was anything in your mind that was like unsettled or unsure. And then we're going to dive into the breaking down with love. Yeah, I was telling my friends, I was like, oh yeah, we just had like a 10-hour day yesterday. And they were like, how did you talk about something for 10 hours? I was like, I have so much I have to tell them. I have to talk for like many more 10 hours, actually. Funny.
How do people do these courses like totally online?
It sucks.
How is that possible to?
You can.
Yeah.
I've done 100 hours online 10 days in a row. My first year here, I did my yin module like, or was it, yeah, I did a yin module like that. It was pure online, it was during Ramadan too.
Yeah.
So I had to tell them like, I'm gonna eat at a different time, whatever, you know, and that was like, fine, whatever. But it's just very mind numbing.
But like doing the 200, the foundational 200.
Oh, yeah, I don't know how people do that. I think I got to that, if I'm to be honest, yeah. I don't know how they would do that. Foundational, I would say try to do it in person, like there's a lot you can do online, like even the videos and even stuff, but like I have to wait. You know, I sat online doing 100 hours of training and some of that was for watching videos with us for hours. I'm like, do we really have to do it like this?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But whatever, like you know, they have it that way. And I've seen a lot of people who told me, oh, I went and did my yoga training online, like I found events online. Great. I've done a lot of courses online, but not like a fundamental training where I didn't have a base. But maybe, who knows what they're, maybe they cross-referenced with a private teacher or something, yeah, they could have. Probably not. And then eventually, like, people have all of their whole class archive online, and I'll do that eventually too. I have a lot of people around the world that I've had thousands of students since I started teaching, and some people. A lot of my students have become yoga teachers from over the years before I had my school. And then some are like, oh, I'd love to take it with you when I'm ready, maybe I can do it online, because it is hard to be with people for 200 hours. Yeah. But I don't know. That's why I haven't put it online, it's like. It kind of needs to be in presence a little bit. So the poses are after page 114. I just have a question. I will break that out today. We started with I don't know what we started. We started on our back with the block under the low back. Yeah. Yeah. Turning down, then. Yeah. So started with the block under the back and then breathing, and then we brought one leg up at a time and we did circular joint warm-up. Right here, each joint, the ankle, yeah, ankle both directions. Yeah, angle both directions, flex and extend the knee, bending the knee and circling out as big as it goes and then circling back in. I can literally like sit in a chair and teach a class, like I can be outside and teach it. Yeah. I've narrated it so many times, so many times. So then we did each side that way. Yes. Yeah, and then you had the option to take the block out or leave it in at that time. Yeah, but we started with the block. And then we went into the abs activation. So then we bent the knees. And then we did one leg at a time, activating transverse. Below abs. We did one leg at a time that way. And then we did legs extension up. Or sorry, no, then we did just normal, little bit of crunches with this shoulder engagement, like Pilates. I would call for my notes, if I was jotting, I would say Pilates 100 that. That's, that's what I would call it, but for my own reference. And then we did, legs up, upper abs. Then we did, lower abs, down, lift, that one, and then we did obliques each side. And then we did extension with the feet flexed, so the body in extension, axial extension, and then those little arches. That way. And then we riffed from there, we went into table pose and we did a little bit of like. Oh wait, before that, did we do the eyes? I can't remember if it was before eyes, that's you. We went table pose, that's what I'm thinking, we went table pose and then we ripped it out. I think that was, yeah,
Yeah, and then the eyes, and then
yeah, and then the rib cage stuff. Rib cage, and there was, first we started with forward and back plank weights. These ones, forward and back, and then we did eights, side to side, lateral eights. Yeah. And we had neck circles, some slow neck stuff. And then we did the eyes, like we kind of worked up. And then it was, then it was the rib cage, and then it was that, and then we came to standing with pelvic circles and. Yeah.
so we're gonna do this, these practices a lot.
Yeah, this one is like you'll have pieces.
Digesting.
Yeah, you'll have pieces
Yes,
of
that's
these.
exactly what it is, it's just.
I love that. Yeah, I love notes like this, yeah. Awesome, yeah, exactly, I would digest, and then when you're home. Go between a few different ways of practicing, guys, like, sit with your book, look at the poses, go step by step and be like, doing this and this and this, and even like reference it on YouTube and use external reference and just practice. And then take your time, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, maybe for your warm up. So I want you to get like very personal with your warm up, okay? There's gonna be like things you bring from your warm up to class, for your class. But there's gonna be things for your warm up that you know that you love, so maybe you don't have that yet, so I want you to be very personal with your warm up. It's going to be your self-care, it's going to be thinking of your body in segments and what you really need. So you'll have like, do your freestyle practice, set your alarm for like 30 minutes, 20 minutes, 90 minutes, whatever you have time for. And don't look at anything, and just allow yourself to move. Think about, okay, this is what I know so far. What do I remember? Maybe you can kind of go blank, like, I need to look at the book, don't look. Move, you can move, you are old enough to figure out how to move for 20 minutes on a timer. You know what I mean? You don't need, and then go look after. Do your best, even film yourself. Anytime you film, trust me, as a person that's filmed themselves for like 20 years for my work. Sometimes you hate it, a lot of times you hate it, but it's a very important tool. So just because you film yourself also doesn't mean you have to show anybody, you can, but you don't have to, so just remember, use it as a tool and not be like, I hate it, doesn't matter. Use it as a tool, film your thing, even film it in time lapse. So you just like, even film it in time lapse, so you don't have to look at every detail, but you can just kind of scroll it, the video and recount for yourself mentally what you were doing. And be like, oh, that was interesting, or that felt good, and reflect on it. So having periods of freestyle movement. Where you bring in different concepts that you've learned, you're like, okay, I'm gonna like think about my breath, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna maybe riff on circles, maybe gonna riff on extension, I'm gonna like work on my pelvis, whatever. Like give yourself that space to have structured work. I'm doing my work and my homework, and then your homework of unstructured work also. So it's very important when you come to movement. A lot of schools of yoga, they want you to like do only that, only that. I'm a very practical person, as I've told you. I don't think that you'll keep your interest if you do only that, only that. I know how fractionated people's interests are in 2025. I have very strong abilities for focus and it's even difficult for me, so I know most people. Don't like the focus is not there, the interest is hard, and it's not because people lack mental strength, it's like we're bombarded with so much stuff, so. Keeping it fresh and relevant to you is how you're gonna just stay interested in something, you know, so feel free to infuse. Again, we have our core competencies that we need to know. And then a lot is up to you and just like the colors you want to paint with. Okay. Order poses, was there any questions or concerns or wondering, or did you want me to look at? Like warrior one or your warrior two, and of course, we're gonna have some repetition, but now I've taught the poses. Or also the mountain, or the half moon. And even if now while you're thinking and trying to remember, do you have any questions? Do the pose and see if you have any questions. I'll take 5 minutes in this way. But I mean, these ones are ones like you're standing. They're like the most simple of the poses, but they're also complex because they're the foundational. So I think well, or you can go into them right now and see if there's anything. Foot position. So think of the whole body. What am I doing when I do it? But yeah, see, do it when I do the pose. After yeah, we did 116 yesterday, awkward pose. One, sorry, they were in alphabetical order. 116 was awkward pose. I took, I'm not doing the competition. You took what, sir? I'm not doing the competition. Oh my God, help yourself, yeah, take another one. I'm gonna take these so. Yeah, see, I have more of them too, if we have. Yeah, no, I brought snacks for you guys, of course. I need some. Or like those things. Of course, that's what we're doing. I got no, that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. What was the other, what was the mountain goals you were just after? The mountain was 116. Or not, 152. I'm gonna do two, I think. Yeah, so we had 116 awkward, we had balancing angle 118. On that page, I have balancing angle / warrior 3, but we're doing warrior 3 later, so it's kind of a progression. So we had balancing angle, we did mountain, crescent, or Irish crescent. That's no 141. I want to do 5 points and start at 8-2. So down my dog is on page 1. And then. On which page? 129. Page 160. Yeah, we didn't break down tables exactly too much, but we did it. With all of these ones that we're covering this weekend, like I said, they kind of cover everything. Warrior one, warrior two. So let's go to page 166. Warrior one. The warrior series, the Sanskrit term is Virabhadrasana. Virabhadrasana, one, or two, or three. There's a lot of different mods for the warriors. So yesterday we did hands on the hips. If you want to leave your arms completely out of it, or we did hands kind of coming up with the same concept. So there's been a few themes that we've repeated again and again, and it's come to the arms. So I'll just repeat that. Anytime that we're bringing our arms out or we're bringing the arms up, we want to keep this area, we want to keep the shoulder down. So it's just be aware if I take my arm up, I don't want my shoulder to kind of come squish. I don't have a big earring on today. I usually have a big earring. But I want my earring to be very visible. So if I go like this and I'm straight, I will probably have to go a little bit wider than here because my scapula are gonna wing out a little bit. Or I can take more of a dancer form, a more round form, and it will actually be a little more friendly on my shoulders. There, so I can feel a little more holding on the lats and think of the more engagement from the back when I'm here versus going straight. And kind of like, do you feel that difference from here versus here? And I can try to straighten from here, but I'll go wider. So if I go straight up like this, I'm squishing, I'm kind of like, I'm binding the energy. I always want to think, I want the energy to be able to flow, through me up. So if I'm here and I'm like, straight, I feel very robotic and then I have to kind of adjust my shoulders from down. And for me, and most people, to be honest, having a little kind of like a high V, a high V, welcome, high V is more comfortable than this. This is like, I feel my energy is like gridlocked here. And then so if I want to think of pulling the shoulders down with the elbows, it's like I have a ball. Energy a little bit is a little more comfortable. Some yoga teachers won't tolerate that. They'll be like, no, straight, you know. I'm all about longevity and keeping my movement as I get older. So I don't, sometimes they're like, no, they want to follow the form and the school. I don't think that's important. Well, that's not important. I don't think that that's necessary. If it's gonna do more damage than good, you know. So just watch your body. I've been teaching yoga long enough now that I've seen what injuries happen over time and repetition and what problems people have over time and repetition. Maybe if we grew up doing yoga from when we were like 3 years old, then that wouldn't be a problem for our body to function in that way. However, we have modern bodies with like all of this digital load, you can say, around your traps and your upper body and mental load. That I don't think was in previous centuries until now, or previous millennia, because it's 6,000-year-old science. So we have to kind of think about like mechanics, biomechanics of the body, being reasonable in 2025 and how to manage those all together. So really, again, the cue is this broadness, collarbones, this width. I always want to feel, remember we talked about the press points, wow, if I keep those engaged, I'm very alert, I'm very open, it's like shining from the solar plexus, the collarbones are reaching back. It's like my energy is going out and up and forward, and radiating, shining. When I did my training last November in Canada, one of my friends and my students in there, she was doing her practice teach, and she was like, and now shine your heart open. I was like, oh, that's nice. You know, it was like a very good cue. But yeah, we always want to think we're shining and radiating out in all directions. So again, think of our little circles lab this morning. I'm shining out in all directions. We're very front facing society, so like everything is like head facing, or like as an example, when people do like a seated forward fold, they're just like trying to get their foot to the, like that's not even the point. Like if I'm doing seated forward fold, I'm like this and I'm trying to lengthen, but then I see people being like croissant and turn into a shrimp, and then they're like, oh, and they're just trying to get their face to the place, and I was like, it's not the point, but we just identify as like floating heads, a lot of people, you know? And you have to try to bring it back into the body. So for Into the Warrior series, there is a few details that I just wanna like drive home again if I didn't mention them yesterday. I was talking a little bit about the rotation of the hips. So just allow me to show you. So warrior one, when I'm standing at the front of my mat and I'm insert to the front, and when I step back, so I'll just take my small step back. Really what I want is I want this front knee over the front ankle. This back leg can be here with a small step back. I'm doing it technically. I could also be here with a wide step back. All I want to maintain is this hip square to the front and this knee over the ankle. So what is going on the deeper level? When I step back into a stronger lunge, a deeper lunge here, my thigh is really engaging. So from here, my back foot can be on the ball, it can be flat, it can be turned out, it can be any, well, don't do that. But it can be, it can be any way, as long as my hips are not shwaya opening, because then that becomes, well, this is not a pose, this is being lazy. So from here, it's either straight, because when it opens to here, that's when it becomes warrior two. So in both of the poses, this front leg is working extremely. I have my hamstring of my front leg super engaged, and I'm thinking also my rotation. I'm rotating outward with this leg outward. I don't want my knee to come in. I don't want my knee to come out. So when I do any knee over the ankle thing, this is a cue of how I want it to look or how it should look. My knee is over the ankle. If I look down and like close one of my eyes, my knee is like directly over this part of my own foot. And I can see my toes. Like, okay, cool. That's pretty much a measurement, gauging it on your own body. So I don't want to look down and see my whole foot, like my knees over to the side like this, or I don't want it like my knee over to the side like this. I want it right on top, and that's gonna cause more stability. I also want to be able to lift my toes up and place them down, because if I'm like this, my balance is not, my footing is not solid. So I really want you to pay attention, rotation in the front thigh. Also, there's a rotation in the back thigh. The front thigh is rotating open, the back thigh is rotating in. So technically, I'm like this. In my, how I feel.
That's how it keeps better. It keeps better.
Yeah, it's all like it's like a suspension bridge. So when I'm here, playing to the front. So see my hips kind of like went open a little bit this way. So if I want to close to the front, I have to kind of go down a little bit here, and I'm going to squeeze this back cheek. It's going to bring my hip forward, and I'm kind of pushing this hip front. So I have this push here and this pull here just to make me straight. To make me straight that way. So I'm really, really focusing on that. That's the foundation of this pose, and that's how you're gonna activate all through the leg. It doesn't matter if you're way down here or you're way up. Be aware if you go into a deeper lunge. If you go into deeper lunge like that, be aware of that like magical place where I can just hang out and not work. Don't go there. Don't go there. That's that's yin concept. So there's a place in a lot of poses where you can find this place where you're not working actually, you know, especially in the lunge. So when we did the hip openers last night and we were doing these ones, remember? Those ones, it's the same if I was doing like warrior like this, huh? If I'm doing a lunge, I can get a hellish stretch right here by not moving forward at all. If I just engage my glute and think of the lengthening, I'm stretching here, and it's like significant. It's a good, I'm feeling significant stretch. if I just drop into this. I look like I'm stretching, I'm not actually stretching anything, the stretch changed into here, but I'm not actually stretching anything there, so just be aware of, again, the feel versus the look. As you'll be cheating yourself in that way, and you're like, well, I'm doing it so big, but it's like, if it's not feeling, it's not actually what's happening, so. Really important to know that spiral in the body, again, thinking about our circles that we did this morning, we always are kind of, that's the only movement that we really have in the body is a spiral. Anytime that we contract or anytime we move a little bit, so this rotation out and this rotation in, or rotation out, rotation in, or whatever one you're doing. The warrior one, that's the nose. So then on warrior two. That's the one I think I take my hand, I brush myself and come long along my mat, like I'm opening. My heel of the front foot is in line with the arch of the back foot, and then I put myself in that position. And then I open, so then my hips open to the side. So when I come into this warrior two, more of a rotation out, even more. So sometimes I will take my thigh and actually manually rotate it just to give my brain that cue. It'll go back. Like I'll rotate the knee on my bone, like manually, and this way, and then here. So one thing you want to be aware of is this crease here. And becoming too lazy in there, so. Extending, pushing up. And very strong in here, it's awkward, this is, if you're really in the warrior two working, it's a lot of work, actually. So you're here, really engaged, rotated out, this one. I'm not really rotated at all, but I am pushing along to the outside line of my foot. And then I want to try to use my low ab engagement to go up from here. So this, with this is what will kind of decide where is your position. And again, it doesn't have to be so wide, but I find warrior two is like a little easier to go wider, but yeah. This is like super pulling in the inner thigh right here. So really think of the rotation, again, if I'm on the other side, the rotation of the legs in and out. And that's kind of a good exercise to do between the two, because you don't always need to move from your mat and integrate if you're doing your home practice. If you're teaching, yes. But if you're doing your home practice, in the warrior two, whatever, you can just come here and come to the side. If you've ever seen those Tai Chi videos on Instagram, my feed is filled with like movement videos and stuff. So if you've ever seen those, they have like 200 of these a day and they have like low Tai Chi lunges. You can do whatever, 100 of them a day, where you're thinking of changing the position and changing the position and so what I'm doing from that activation side to side, when I turn my leg and I put my weight, I'm thinking of that engagement of the rotation, pushing into my heel, neutral, there, rotation, engagement. So it's actually very like subtle. It kind of looks like you're just shifting back and forth like this, but it's actually includes this. If I shift back and forth, I'm bypassing right here, where the glute and the hamstring kind of overlay. And then when I add this, it's grabbing down from like here, and then so it's just like a different kind of gripping all of the areas of the leg. Any questions? Does that make sense?
I need to try it.
Try it, let's try it right now. Yeah, so let's come into this just like I was standing wide like this. Well, this is gonna, we're gonna do 5 points and start also, so this is gonna tie into that. So now I want you to just pivot on your heel and open and move into that and just think of that leg and warrior two and think of this. Now you want to get right in there and moving in and then coming back and then over to the other side. So just kind of try it on and try a rotation. And even try it with a less wide stance if you feel like it's not, and then try it with a more wide stance. But what I want you to really feel is this, in this area here. And then thinking of picking your heels up and setting your toes, sorry, and setting them back down. So turning. Open and open. Aywa, and then from center and open. And just feeling those resistances or those lines in the body. So yeah, keep your torso more to the long, the long line, because it's just the legs opening one at a time. So here. And here. And then a little couple exercises, if rotation, like people who haven't spent a lot of hours in classical dance classes, the rotation is lacking. So if that is you, you can think about practice as just like turn out and squeeze your butt really, like ballet style, and then turn in and in. I'm kind of feeling that difference. So then turning out and then turning in. And just feeling that position of the leg under the hip. So just practicing that. Also, if you're laying in the tub, just doing rotations like this and really feeling what is my range of motion of my femur turning in the socket. What is my range of motion? You can have the heel on the floor. There's like a little, dance. But anyway, it's really, really good for the stability and health of your hips. And it has a similar feeling when you activate those as when you put the block when you're holding, because the block makes you grab. So if you want to activate that, if you're like, oh, I'm not activating, you can have your block. You can hold. So when I take my block, I can really feel this area. And I can still do this exercise with the whole. Turn out and turn in. So that control, maybe those muscles you're like, oh God, where are they? You know what I mean? And so it's just like any muscle, we just reach, we try to activate them. Yeah, open. When I'm doing the steps called Suzy Q, when I'm doing that, I have one ball, a heel and ball. That's how I'm doing it. I have like heel and ball with the foot. I just try not to overthink it really. But yeah, I just try not to overthink it. And yeah, but that rotation, and maybe you didn't spend a lot of time doing that, it's okay. But it's an exercise that's gonna really help you enliven this area and perk your side ass, your side leg ass. Yeah. For the technical terms. Yeah. For the scientific term. Side leg ass, but it's kind of a convergence of muscles here. IT band, glute, quad, and hamstring kind of all thread together in this little area right here. So that's an area that we want to really turn on when we're doing it. And just paying more attention, just like when we went in and did this eyes today, it's very subtle in detail. But it's also necessary. So we're going to do later after lunch, we're going into the major muscle groups of the body. This falls into the major muscle groups, but you'll start to look at the muscles and realize that we have kind of dead pockets in them, or like pockets that are not activated. And what we want to do with prana and movement and awareness and education is activate everything that we can. But yeah, does that make sense, that rotation thing going in there? Super important. Usually any tweaks that if the yoga teacher's like, change this or change this or change this, it's not a huge, it's like a little rotation. It's like usually a little tweak that will be, like if you can do that subtle adjustment on yourself, it will be like fixing the pose versus not fixing the pose. So don't think it has to be like a huge movement to have significance, it doesn't. It's just really kind of activating all parts of your body and using that on your mind's eye. So while we're in this position, let's also break down the pose with 5 pointed star. We start in a wide position. When I come into a wide leg position, I want to try to keep that weight on the tripods of my feet. I don't want to come in like this And I don't wanna go too out like this, but I am a little more on the outline of my foot than I am on the inline. And my ball of my foot, when I say that, I mean where the big toe joints is really pressing. So from there, I'll extend my pelvis, my tailbone downward, and then I'll reach my rib cage upward. 5-pointed star, I'll allow my arms to float up. And then just settle them down, and I'm extending out into wherever I'm going. This is another radiation pose, glowing, shining, and then reaching up from the crown of the head. So let's take our 4 breaths here. And then I want to think of like closing, be careful of that too much extension. I don't want to arch the back, I want to close. Lengthen the spine as much as possible. Let the shoulders settle. Yeah, I kind of use my lateral space to kind of like settle myself down, or like I bring the arms up a little more and be like, settle down into this part. And breathe. This one is kind of like an afternoon coffee pose. You can do this one in the afternoon to kind of reset your energy, enliven your energy, and expand a bit. The cues I use when I'm teaching this pose, I'm like, now let's try to push your energy beyond the wall, extend your energy out of the room, out, and just feel yourself radiate open. And then slowly bringing the arms down and heel and toe the feet together. So 5-pointed star. It's a basic wide leg position. So another pose that you would start the same setup would be wide leg forward fold, which is this one. Wide leg forward fold, I set my feet at the same time and then I would go forward. Often I pair wide leg forward fold after 5-pointed star if I'm making a sequence. So I would go from here, inhale, and now bring your hands into the hips and slowly start to bring the torso forward, extending from the sternum long. Take it to your halfway point and check it out. So I take it to halfway just to be like, maybe this is my option here. And then we can give students the option to have hands on the thighs and elbows on the thighs, or take it to the floor. We can also have our blocks present. And then this is a nice stretch for the back of the legs. You can hang here. When you bring the arms together like this to hang, they call this ragdoll. Or you can even grab the back with the ankles and pull yourself more aggressively under. So when we're in hatha world, is you can hatha this, we're doing hatha now, but you can also yin this also. So how would the qualities be different? Hatha, I'm extending, I'm going down, I'm keeping my lines of energy. Say I came down, holding my ankles. When I come back up, I'll inhale halfway up. And then bring my hands to my hips and inhale all the way up. So hatha, when I'm doing 5-pointed star, wide leg forward fold, and keeping that radiance, that extension up. If I was in a yin class, I would do wide leg forward fold on the ground, but it also is a different quality. It's more in the groin, whereas this is more in the hamstrings when I'm standing. So if I go wide again, and I'm gonna yin it out, I will also start with a soft knee. It's not that I'm not engaged in my body in yin, it's just that I allow it to have a different quality. So same thing, I will go down, 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 down. Down, 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 and see how I just let my back, I didn't stay straight the whole time, I didn't stay engaged, I just allowed myself to melt. And I begin by just setting a timer and hanging out like this, ragdolling it, whatever, not active in the upper body, whereas in the hatha version, I stayed long and I kept my spine long instead of releasing it. If I did ragdoll, I would release, but then my legs are still very active, pressing into the floor. And do 3 more reps here. For a yin to come out of it, I would bend the knees and slowly roll, press into the feet and slowly roll up. So see how it's the same shape, but I just approach it differently? So that would be the difference if I was yinning out or if I was hatha. For that. Let me see what it says about special notes. Any questions about that pose coming into it? Or the wide leg position generally? Any of that rotation stuff. So as you can see, when you're standing, go into your wide leg position if you're standing. And then what is your rotation? What are the hips doing? So it's kind of like you want to have a little weight coming from your tailbone, kind of pulling it down, like elongating the low back. Similar feeling to when we put the block on the low back. You know, that feeling of the pelvis. Yeah, exactly. Squeezing a little bit. And then the weight in the feet, can you pick your toes up? You set them back down. Can you go wider? What's the widest you can go? And it's not necessary to go wide, but why not? Go into your full range of motion. So a lot of times in our practice, we want to go into our full range of motion.
Does this pose suit the people who have herniated disc in the lower area?
It can be fine, yeah. Yeah, what part of the pose?
When we need
It depends, everyone with a herniated disc needs to consult their doctor. Yeah, their doctor needs to tell them if it's fine, because some people also with herniated disc shouldn't go forward from anywhere, so it just depends on the nature of the herniated disc. We're not doctors, you have to remember, so they have to check with their doctor. You can tell them, some people with herniated discs find this to be stressful on their back. Pretty much anyone, anytime you pull the spine, it can be stressful on the back of a person with a herniated disc. So it's really up to them to discuss with their doctor what's possible. Maybe also have some physiotherapy and then come to the yoga. That would be the levels of where the yoga teacher sits on the, you know, you can be like, oh, it's fine, because not everybody reacts the same. But maybe you get someone in your class that's very delicate and mental, and you meet, and you know, you don't want to be responsible for their health. So if they're like, I just don't know, be like, I really think it's best that you check with your physician, your family doctor, and a physiotherapist, and then come see me. Cause yeah, the first line of contact is shouldn't be the yoga teacher. Yeah. So it can be dangerous, but everything can be dangerous if you have already a pre-existing health condition. Even I can hurt myself crossing the street if I have a herniated disc. You just don't want it to be your problem if they come into your class. And if you're feeling for your own self herniated disc, again, it depends on the nature. What side is it on? Is the herniation coming on the inside or is it on the outside of the spine? That will make a big difference too. Some people that they have the herniated disc, like our skeleton here. So she has it on, yeah, you guys can come back in or use it as a stretch. So she has it here on this side. So should she bend over and squish it more? No. Can she bend over this way and open it? Maybe. You know, forward and back, like, it just depends how the disc is like rolling on it, you know, so they need to have an X-ray, you know, if they have some very bad problem. And like I said before, a lot of people have herniated discs and don't, we probably all do. Or ones you know about, or ones maybe you don't know about, unless you've gone for CT scan and X-ray, you won't know. So if I have an injury in my cartilage and I'm bulging, this is what this is. It's like a bruise on the outside now, and some cartilage leaked out. Should I crush it that way? Probably not. You know, so that would be going to the side would be wrong. Can I fold forward and out of it? Maybe, but is it like separating the disc? So again, it depends when the disc was herniated, because is it a fresh tear? Is it scar tissue? There's many elements. But as a yoga teacher, even if you're very knowledgeable in anatomy, even if you've been doing it for a long time, you cannot should not legally tell somebody something is okay or something's not okay. Check with your family doctor, save yourself from that. And then if you're inquiring for your own self, this question, check with your family doctor, get an x-ray, find out what's the scope of your movement, what's the range of movement that's safe for within that injury, because there's sometimes we get injured, don't move. Don't move, let yourself heal, ice, cast. There's sometimes when we get an injury, then a little movement is okay. Or as the movement heals or the injury heals, then I can incorporate. So it depends when it happened, where it is, what side. But like I was saying, in forward fold, maybe people with herniated discs shouldn't do that one first thing in the morning, like right for your first pose. Stretch my back when I wake up. Don't do it. Just wait. Maybe do a softer warm up first. But there's for every question, there's many things to consider. When working with bodies, there's nothing that's just yes, no, black and white. But a lot of times they try to make rules because it makes it just easier to triage people and put them, not make it your problem. But yeah, I would say just like tell them to check with their doctor or get an x-ray if it's something that they're not sure. So, but it's a good question actually. But yeah, just remember we are yoga teachers. Think about how long a doctor or a chiropractor goes to school for. 8 years, 12 years. We're doing 200 hours. You know, we're not a spine doctor. So yeah, you're doing 1 weekend a month, like for 7 months, and a doctor would do condensed for 8 years. It's a big difference. You know what I mean? So if you're not sure and you're dealing with something very delicate, they should check with the guy who went to school for 8 or 12 years. So, is there any questions about foot position, rotation, knee bent over the ankle?
Can you? Is it okay to like adjust your?
I use 100%. Yeah. 100%. You're gonna tell students to put the feet towards the front, but maybe somebody has a deviation, like they can't turn. Again, it might come down into the hips where they can't turn the feet front and their feet just naturally go like that. You can ask them, say, is it possible for you to put your feet parallel? Maybe they didn't know the feet were parallel and they just thought, so that's a cue, and if they're like, oh no, I have depression here, maybe they don't know it's depression yet, but oh, I have something here, I'm not able. You say, oh, is it possible for you to put your feet straight? And they're like, I do have it straight. And you're like, oh, no, it's not. You know what I mean? You know, it's kind of like that. But yeah, and then it's fine also, like, because when we're exploring through all this space, maybe I did this a bunch. Now I want the effect of that when the legs are open. Yeah, sometimes I like to do it also with my feet turned in. And then you're gonna stretch down here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is gnarly. Yeah, this is so gnarly. People don't usually stretch in here. So yeah, a mod and wide leg forward bend is when you turn the toes inward. It stretches into the lower leg here. We can also do this when we do our leg with the strap, turning the foot towards the inside. As long as it doesn't conflict with the knees, as long as it doesn't like pull your knees out of alignment. So just remember, we just always want the knee straightening and bending forward, not twisting. This is not actual. This should not happen in real life. This is you're having a terrible day. You need surgery now. A lot of surgery. Now, surgery now. Okay. On the page 169. And warrior two. The bottom of the picture, I have exalted warrior. It's not in, they didn't break it down. Exalted warrior.
What's inflated?
Exalted means like, how would this say? They're lifting a king. Like you're lifting, it's royal, it's up.
It's like the highest.
Yeah.
Highest thing.
Exalted. Like you would say God is exalted.
Yeah.
Like, like, yeah. So it's like very spiritual highness. That's not it. Yeah. So that's called exalted warrior when they open and they go into side bend. So this is a cross. We have the bottom is warrior one or warrior two. And the top is that kind of the same as what you're doing in half moon or the crescent. Just to say that. So I'm going to start with phase two. Mhm. So, down, 5 pointed star, page 132. Benefits. It gently strengthens the entire body. So it's something, sorry, 133 is where I'm reading from. So the benefits is that it strengthens the body. Easily, similar to our mountain pose, you know, we have engagement, but we don't have anything too crazy that we're on. Opens up full breathing, again, that expansion. Opens one into extending normally perceived boundaries. So what I mean by that is like now feel yourself expanding out, feel your energy going beyond the walls of this room, going outside, you know, you can do a little mini guided meditation. It's like a little mini guided meditation when you try to fit that visualization in there. Feel yourself expanding outward from your front, from your back, from the feet into the ground, feel your feet root down into the earth. Feel your roots extending down into the earth as your fingers reach out into the sky, into beyond. Feel yourself shine outward. You can use all of these visuals to paint the picture for people to feel huge, to feel more huge and expansive. So grounding and expanding simultaneously. So again, that imagery that I said, feel your feet rooting into the earth. Feel your feet strong on the earth, the tripods of your feet on the earth. So again, you're checking in your students if they're in this pose, and all standing poses, by the way, you're checking their feet. You're looking at their feet and you're giving them cues, even if they're doing it, you're still giving them cues to remind them to keep doing it, because students will go into their mind and who knows what's going on in there. So you have to just gently bring them back into the room, bring them back into their body, and give them visuals that keep them present in the pose. Because that is kind of the yoga teacher's job when you're leading people through the pose. It's not just showing them how to do a pose, but you're also trying to you're holding the space and shaping the experience for them to be in the room. And part of that is that trying to keep them distracted from their distractions. So it's up to the teacher to give good cues so that you leave yourself in the body instead of leaving the room. So common problems in 5 pointed star or any expansive arm position and shoulders. So if my shoulders are here, what's a cue? What can I use? What can I say to fix if my shoulders are like this? What are some things we've done? We were talking about again rotation. So I don't want to necessarily rotate, keep the arms like this for 5 pointed star. But if I notice some people in my group are like very close to the chest, like let's do a little activation. Yeah, let's do a little activation. I'm gonna think of opening. So I go into like, I'm reaching my arms out, I'm expanding out. So all that what we said before. And now let's think of turning the palms up and turning the palms back and turning the palms up. And so you give them that, feel that in your back, you know, so you give them a little bit of activation and awakening in that area of the body, and then you can bring them down. And now let's allow the arms to float up and settle down and settle your shoulders in place. So if you notice people are having a difficult time settling their shoulders, you can offer rotation, rotation. And so you can think of it as easily as bringing the palms up and bringing the palms down. This is also excellent in your circular joint warm-up when you get to a standing part because it's circulating the joints. We did this like moving through the elbows also, circling, leading with the elbow. Some cues like that. Knees locked. So always encourage a soft bend in the knee. Soft bend in the knee. So it's similar, like when I was saying, don't lock your elbow, because it's a compromised joint, it's bone on bone. The same for the knee. We don't want to like lock the knee out. Because if I'm like this and I'm balancing and my knee's locked, I will have a better time and easy to recover my balance if I'm bouncing than if I'm straight. Like well, I can, but it's not easy to be straight leg and then like have to accommodate. I'm just gonna tip over. So I always want to keep bringing knee, chest gate, common problems. Similar, you can use the rotation, and you can use the cue. Extending from the collarbone. People pretty much get it when you say open through here, and they're like, oh, right, it's a nice feeling pulse. And open through here, and then another thing to look for, well, I guess for getting the press points. You know, if all your press points are active, then it would be working. And another thing is just being aware if they're like this. I'm expanding. Because we want to think of that channel. We mentioned the nadis, we did the nadi shodhana breath. So in yoga, they have this very important nadi, the one that runs the spinal column that we spoke of the other day, the cerebral spinal fluid and all that stuff. The shoshona nadi, and you'll learn this, you'll hear it again and again. It's like when you have a kundalini activation that comes up your spinal cord, it's through the shoshona nadi. And they have, there's three. There's two, and then the big central one, there's the Ida and the Pingala, and energy goes up one and down the other. And it kind of does this like shh thing, and it does your energy up the thing. So you can just keep that in your side notes. So chest cage, that's what again, we're gonna think. And think you can say your I use the word verticality axis a lot because of my whirling. And because I'm verticality, because I'm verticality axis, is how I'm thinking of it. I don't know if that sentence hits for you or makes sense for you to use, but you can think about bringing a column of light down through the crown chakra. That's some people use too. I'm very scientific a little bit. I'm not being silly. I'm very like blunt and practical. So yeah, I'm like, is your verticality axis or your axial center? Axial, that axis. And vertical. Goddess variation. So goddess or cactus. When you're in five-pointed star, you could bring it into this variation. You could also bend the knees and turn it into squat, which is goddess pose. So if I was here, I would actually turn out my feet before I went into squat. So say I was here and then I would turn out, rotate, all that fine stuff we were doing earlier. Then maybe I even bring my feet a little closer together and then be in this position in the goddess pose, or they can be here. They can be from here to here. And some schools of yoga call this cactus arms. Yeah, and the palms are forward, like open palm. People can often tend to be lazy in this pose because you're like, it's just this, you know, because it looks simple. So that's when, you know, as a teacher for a long time, that's the comment that people have about a lot of things. Is they're like, but it looks so easy. Yeah, but it's not. Or like moving in slow motion looks easy, but it's really, really, really hard. Have them experiment with the foot positioning, kind of like what we did. And by repeating the posture twice, once with the feet parallel and once with the feet pointing outward. When we say pointing outward here, I don't mean in full ballet second position or ballet first position. I don't mean that. I mean just like a slight angle, slight rotation. And also the concept of rotation. Sometimes it blows people's mind. Like when you're like, okay, guys, I want to talk about rotation. So they have one leg out, maybe you're standing, maybe you're sitting, whatever. You're like, okay, if I open my foot to the side, it's not my foot actually moving, it's coming from up here. And then I've had so many people be like, wow, I never thought that, you know what I mean? So like, it is a concept that like to just throw it in there and something that you need to explain kind of quickly, you know, because it's not a ballet class. And that it, so that's the thing, so people who have done dance have the advantage of that, but it is important, because if you use it as a cue. For them to understand and just be like, understand that the femur rotates in the socket and that's what's moving the foot. The more distal is not powering the movement, so distal is further away from the axis. The more axial, the closer to the axis is usually what is powering it. And then while we're on that, let's look at. Let's go to page 170. For the wide leg forward bend, wide leg forward fold. Pasarita Padottanasana. So whenever you see Pado in Sanskrit, it has something to do with the foot. Even though it doesn't transfer into English, it's 7,000-year-old language, they don't, even modern languages don't transfer. So we started with all of the same elements as the 5 plated start for this one, okay? And then we went and we had it. So in my little pictures, I have the ragdoll variation and I have the more active variation where I'm pulling my own legs down. This pose, you can get really aggressive. You can see people when they take the photo from the side, their head is like, their back is like this, rounded. Because my sinus is hard for me to be upside down right now. Their back is rounded and their head is like inside of their legs. So you can go, it's very active. That's not a passive hanging one, that's very, very active. So. If you're doing, I wrote down both the Vivian and the Hatha style. So we're talking about Hatha style in this one. Again, we just kind of like make the form, make sure you're good. Drop into it, stretching. Here, we're using the press points. So in Hatha, we use press points. You don't need the press points because you're not pressing. You're not pressing anything. So benefits, going upside down is good for you. Reverse blood, stimulates organs and glands. Good for freshening the face also. Releases spinal tension. So also, like your question about the spine, it can release tension, but if you need to keep tension on the spine for protection, then it's not good. Like, that's the thing, all of these poses have benefits, but if you have a contraindication, it could be a disadvantage or anti-benefit. So yeah. So it elongates the spine. We have to think it's traction. So the vertebrae and the spine, they're all like releasing from each other. Opens hamstrings, releases mental tension and calms nerves. So it's important to also know that calms nerve comment. What is another one that calms our nerves? The sky. So often in yoga, there's different feelings associated with different shapes, and not like emotional feelings, like physiological feelings. So it's pacifying and relaxing when I do anything that's forward folding and closing. And it's invigorating and more exciting when I do anything that's open and flat. So that's kind of a general rule and pretty solid. Actually. So this one is also closing, so it's a more passive. That's a good idea. This is a forward bend. You can teach the methodology of forward bends in a seating position. Didn't think that. Didn't remember that. Yeah, so you can, I haven't done that in ages actually. Pretty fishy. So, yeah, you can do it in a forward bend, seated wide leg forward bend, just like this one we've been doing. This is kind of the same thing, you can teach them in this position and going forward in this position. So this would be more getting out, or you can get them to be more active in their feet by flexing the feet and bringing the toes in. And then you can also experiment with the rotation from that position. Allow gravity to assist you. So avoid all aggression. No, that's a good note. We can put that into any of the poses actually. So common problems in that one, standing or seated, tight hips, inability to hinge forward. That's like if someone has a hard time going forward, rounding back. Yeah, so their upper back is rounding or not, so getting the press points and then being aggressive, pulling into being aggressive. So yeah, this one, even if we're young or half the world, we still want to be able to allow gravity to help us a little bit. Any questions for that?
Well, I was thinking, around my backlog, so I don't know what's cute to give myself, so.
When you're in that pose in particular or generally?
This poses.
And I would just say, think of extending, again, same cues as you would give in the 5-pointed star. So now extend, shine out, so even if I'm folding, I can think, I inhale, I'll go halfway down, my hands come to my knees. So, okay, I'm standing. And then I inhale, I come halfway down, my hands come to my knees, lengthen. And as I continue down, staying open. And then I just like kind of like not lock my arms, but I really push energy into my arms. If you're down and hanging out, that's okay because you're hanging out with gravity. So when we round our back when we're standing, it's like we're fighting gravity in this position and we get like tired or we're doing that. When you're down, you didn't have to hold your, you don't have to. So that's a time when you can let yourself down. And then you might want to counter it with the block under that. So it's just like if you notice that you're doing a shape a lot in your body that you don't want to do, you do the counter pose for it. So that would be starting with that. Or if you're like, okay, I know I have a tendency to do that, start with that in your opener for 4 breaths to just try to like already guide your body into that position. And there's a few like the one we put under when you put under the bra strap, like for this more upper body lift, opening here. And then you can also have it and just have the whole body. And just let your body be here for a while, 4 breaths, 8 breaths, 12 breaths, like that. And starting with that will kind of even maybe adjust your spine, maybe a little bit, and a little more than just spine on the floor. Most mornings when I bring my back to the mat for the first time in the day, my spine is like adjusted and it's like, oh, thank God, so the block can enhance that a little more. So you can just, just think of this area of the body not closing and feeling this open part through the solar plexus. That will kind of ensure that you're not closing with the front of the body and that, so I just want to think of lengthening. So giving yourself the cue and lengthen through the torso, lengthen through the solar plexus, reaching on the crown of the head, because even if I'm here, like, okay, I'm standing and I'm reaching from the crown of my head, even as I go forward, that's gonna keep me in extending. Yeah, reaching at that crown of that thread from the crown of the head. Huge cue that you'll use a lot. All right, so. Adho Mukha Svanasana, the downward facing dog, controversial, important pose. So. Oh, sorry, 129. So I'm gonna start this pose with the contraindications. With the problem. And I thought there would be a way bigger list than that, actually. Carpal tunnel, so wrist and the big problem, anyone upside down. Is another problem, high blood pressure, late term pregnancy. That's not really a contraindication. I don't think. If a lady has been doing yoga her whole practice, leave her alone. Like her whole, you know what I mean? If she's been doing yoga her whole pregnancy is what I mean, leave her alone. She knows what she's doing. If she's brand new, maybe you don't want to deal with that, fair. But if it's someone who's like comfortable, let the lady do her thing. She's okay. By the time you get to 8 or 9 months pregnant and you already have your yoga under you, you're pretty comfortable. Unless, and then pregnant ladies are like the most careful ladies in the world anyway. So they will like monitor themselves. But the pregnant lady looks to you too. Like anyone, anything. For that matter, don't tell them anything. Yeah, ask them if you can get them a drink and that's all. Do you need something, that's all you need to ask. So. The biggest problems that I see in downward dog is the setup. is the feeling of the need to put the heels on the ground. So my little first picture with the super bent knees, we're gonna focus on that variation. And that's the variation that you need to do. I've been kind of creeping this shape in quite a bit. In our movement so far, if you like think for a minute, I've been creeping it in there. In an indirect way, because it's an important shape to master as a yoga teacher, which is just that folding with the torso on the thighs. That's an important shape to be able to get into, because you need to be able to show your students it, because it's a less aggressive version of a lot of things. So we had it in forward fold, standing forward fold. So I would come down, or when I'm coming up, yoga mudra, I was here, I started here, and then I went under. So forward fold to be here, and then slowly, or even here, it's kind of like pre that. And then there. So getting that is more important than getting the legs straight, in my opinion. So we're gonna move through. There is the heart opener pose that we've done already with the blocks. Opening that one, with the blocks, we're gonna start with that. We're gonna do quarter dog progression, which is like just a smaller version of downward dog. There's one that you can do with arms side and side, one arm, and kind of getting into the armpit. And then there's like puppy, they call it, and then half dog, and then full downward dog, and then there's one with the leg back. There's lots of variations for this, but for today, we're gonna focus on just some of the shapes. What is the most important outcome of the shape? Is that the back stays like a slide. And I have that visual because when I was practicing yoga and my daughter was very small, she would literally try to use my back as a slide. She's like, "Mom, your back's a slide." So that's where I got that. That's where I got that cue from someone trying to use my back as a slide. Quite literally, you're like, "Where is that cue from?" It's from that. Yeah, it's from that. So you see again, if I go and I'm thinking of my lines of energy. Sorry, not so straight line, but I want to have that line of energy straight, and it's going up and out of the tailbone. So pretty much with all yoga poses, you can do that like we were doing, you can draw lines on them. Because even with my bent leg one, I still have the energy moving in that slight, right? So you can always think of the line of energy, we want to energize our line. Okay. So let's grab our jaw. And we're gonna go into I don't have that very different. I don't know how to see.
So I can't see this pose. I can't see my shoulders in the mirror. So how can I make them like? How to make sure that they are open shoulders, not.
You have to know the feeling. You have to get to know, you have to memorize the feeling. So what we did this morning, do you remember? And yeah, don't look at yourself in the mirror when you're doing yoga poses. This is what I'm saying, create that internal vision so you know. This is part of your process to becoming able to do this, is being able to know. So even if I'm not looking in the mirror, when I bring this whole thing we did this morning and the other day, when I bring my arm up, this whole position, this whole arm position thing with this applies to this. So maybe if my arms are too close, they have to be more wide. So I have to just get to know what that position feels like. If you need the mirror while you start to do it, it's a matter of maybe going on the mirror and doing it like that. But it's part like you have to learn the difference between like what this feels like and knowing that it's like crunchy versus what that feels like and knowing that it's more spacious. Like that will be part of your learning and your responsibility. Without looking, of course you can't look here. So it's all of this arm stuff we talked about this morning. Every time you raise your arm, And then even this, we're not gonna have dancer arms, because it's a straight arm pose, so maybe I have to go more wide. Another way to train on that. Your side planking. So now I can know this is open. It's not like this. So get to know this feeling. Between this and this, and if you can't tell the difference, you need to like do extra homework for 700 hours. But yeah, get to know the feeling. And even just soft ones, so I can be even here, and scrunched, and extended, and scrunched, and extended. So knowing the feeling between that. And then that's why we're working with all those subtleties of moving the shoulder blades. Well, let's grab our blocks and we'll go into heart opener. This, if you have a group of new people. This is how I would teach downward dog progressionally. So you know, so far in the practices, how I've been, say, giving like, as an example. Yesterday we were doing the quad stretch and I gave you like 3 options before, and a bunch of them I'm giving you 3 options. I always teach like that because you have mixed classes, you don't know who's in the class. So I'm like, okay, you can start with this one. You can be leaning on the couch, it's more comfortable. You can go back or you can go all the way back if it's good. So I won't give the finished version. I won't go into this right away. Why would I show them the finished pose and I don't even know if they can do baby one. So I wanna see what's going on. And then I'm like, and then, because sometimes you can be like, that's the pose. So you're like, hey, this is where we're at today. But if you see some people that have the ability and to go further, then you can offer it to them. The ones who come into a position that it feels good and safe for their body, they are more than happy to stable. More than happy to stare please with me. You know, so how I would start to teach to get into this pose, I would say, okay. Okay, it would be after usually. Depending if I'm putting it in sun salutation, it would be after I do my standing stuff. Start with mountain, Ardha Shavasana, awkward pose, side to side, maybe some warrior 1, 2, 5-pointed start, forward fold, and now transition down. And then we would go into here. So we would come into table pose to start, always. So then I would have the blocks. For the heart opener, and I would say, get used to this cue, slide your hips back. It's not about lifting the tail ever, you're not lifting the tail until later. So I think slide your hips back, so you know how we were doing cat and cow? And I didn't tell you go up and down, I told you slide forward and slide back. So slide your hips back. And then let the arms extend forward as the center of the chest melts towards the floor. And so from here, we just allow them to enjoy this nice upper back opener, chest opener, armpit opener. At this point, after the hips, after you've cued, slide your hips back, you say you can allow your tail to tilt upward. And maybe even stretching through the hamstrings or the backs of the legs. Lengthen through the back and now breathe into all sides of the ribs. So we were thinking about our circles this morning. Think about how you felt that full holding of the rib cage from all sides. And breathe into that and extend. Let's take 4 breaths together here. And remember, the position of the block can be different, it can be higher, it can be lower. If you have a bigger body person, they may want to have the legs wider. If they have a big belly or pregnancy, they may want to have the legs wider. If it's a woman with really big chest, she might need to have the blocks on their higher position to make room for her boobs or her just body, you know? So that's a very easy adjustment with the blocks, but also let them know that it's there. So this is prep. This could be even downward dog for someone. This might be as far as they can go. in downward dog, and that's totally fine. They're gonna get most of the benefits of the pose. They might need to do a little back of the leg stretching later and they'll end up okay. So breathing into all sides of the ribcage. And then as you're ready to come out of it, inhale, you can bring your hands in towards you, bringing them off the blocks. And then slowly coming up, bringing the hips a little forward and coming back into your table pose. So that's an excellent prep. And like I said, that could be downward dog for someone. That could be their full expression of what they're able to do. So, okay. Then that's an excellent prep for them to get the feeling of the back and for them to get the idea of sliding the hips back. So before you move them more than that, I get also people to do slide a little forward, slide a little back. I want them to feel the difference of tilting the tail down in this position and then tilting the tail up. So just get them familiar with that. And so when we rolled the toes, you guys remember we did this, we've done this every time we've come to standing, by the way. So curl the toes under and just lift the knees off the floor and feel the engagement that takes place. So it's just a little bit of wrapping when we did our upper ab work today. So right there in the lower abs, you feel that grab right away when you come up and then through the rest of the abs. Do you guys feel that? From here, grab, and then I lift up a little more. So this is pose one. You're gonna see how people do in this position. So what are some things they need to check for when the hands are down? So now that we're putting the hands on the ground and we're gonna put weight on the hands. This is a good way to check. See if everyone was listening. So you wanna set them up for success. We're gonna say, okay, after we do the tilt, after we do the heart opener, all of that stuff, we're gonna say, okay, so let's spread the fingers wide on the ground. I haven't given you this cue yet. When you bring the fingers wide on the ground, think of spiraling the hands inward. It's like I'm twisting the hands inward. I'm not going to, but I have that energy and my fingers are wide. So remember those stretches, the finger stretches on the floor. If your fingers can't go wide, do the finger stretches. What the part of the hand that we want to connect onto the floor is, they call it their finger roots. So where the finger meets the hand, that's where I want to be very strong on the floor. So I have them strong on the floor like this. Remember we talked about the elbow thing, we don't want this. If I spiral my hands into the floor, the elbows will go outward. Yeah. With a little bit of this gecko-ish ability. I'm gonna be able to move side to side. You can also get students to tent their fingers, they call it, so start like this. And just get them to like kind of put their weight in their fingers, and how does that feel? And it kind of activates through the palms and the hands. But more round, not like breaking the fingers. So when I put the fingers like this, it's the same as this. Right? So this. Like a clock. Done. And then I can feel an activation through the palm of the hand, and then I can put my hands down and then spiral, but yeah, the fingers are wide. If I could, if this was like clay, my mat, I would be putting my mark of each finger into the clay. There's no like folded parts. When you get to working with older people, like when I had a lot of clients in Canada that were very old with arthritis, they can't straighten their fingers. They're like trapped like this, even their whole hand, like older people, when they get arthritis and their skeleton gets older, the skeleton just kind of forms like that. They've had a whole lifetime of working with their hands, you know, so their hands get like that. Some hacks that you can do if you're in that position yourself or someone is have them put their hands on a mat. Because it's like gives them that space a little bit, or a roll towel. You won't come into that so often here, I don't think, but if you're working in the UK or Canada, there's lots of old people. Here, old people don't do yoga, They don't, they don't. So like, see how it's round, this is a little too big for this, but it still like accommodates that position of the hand, because sometimes people's hands are literally like that. And then all the weight goes jammed in the wrist, and we don't want that. So the reason for all of this attention into the hand. Is because a lot of people, again, the weight goes like here, and then the hand is like, see, my hand's not even really on the mat. My weight is all in the. My palm base, so the hand's just kind of like flopping things, so I wanna. So when I'm activated and I'm pressed through the hand, my wrist doesn't even feel any. So I'm here, very activated through the hand, get going. Here, and then I'll have the toes curled under. I'll have them engage the abs, pull in those low abs. Here, elbows are bent, and then just do a little bit up and down, keeping the knees bent, 90 degrees. Shift your weight a little bit forward. Shift your weight a little bit back, breathe. Let's do 4 breaths, shifting your weight forward and back, so 1. 2, feel the heat run in the body, legs, core, arms. Down. Like that. Gonna be more in the hand. And if you need practice with that, a really good way to practice. Is take a little animal walk around the room, and then your body will adjust real quick. Sometimes when we're standing in just one spot. We can kind of like forget the functionality of it. But yeah, just pretend you're like an animal that needs to walk around. Contemporary dance class. Yeah, or animal flow, they have animal flow, where they'll move one hand and one foot and together, like how animals walk, so coordinating the body in that other way. Is really interesting, but we don't wanna be jammed on the wrists, because we won't be able to stay after, even after our 4 breaths, we'll be stressed. And so a cue to relax the wrists when we're spending a lot of time here, so you can think of going in. Pulling the whole hand also, but think about what we're working with. All these little bones. So if we get these guys jammed. They're jammed, right? So. Pulling it off. Pulling it off. Yeah, it's all these little guys, so. Instead of being here and jamming these guys, we wanna spread the tension. It's physics, not that I'm a physicist at all. It's physics. We wanna spread the load of the weight across the whole hand. And primarily through here. Instead of through here. So it kind of takes it like, if it was like. Energy was red here, it kind of spreads it out and makes it orange, lightens it a bit. So having that. So I would start with first their wrist, if they've never done downward dog before. You don't need to spend this much time in these details if they have, but I've walked into classes, like I'm subbing for someone's class and I'm like. Like at the aquatic center, like a gym. And like a public gym with pools and stuff, whatever, sauna, massage. And I've gone to the class, like they just have different teachers all the time for these types of classes, like the 6 a.m. or the whatever, different classes. And I'm like, okay, guys, we're gonna do downward dog lap today. As a yoga teacher, you can change it on the fly, whatever you wanna do, actually. You just feel inspired. You can change it. So. From here, from here. We had this lift. And then after you have them do that and hold it, get them to just slide back. So then the body comes to the thing. What always happens? People do this. What the hell is that? I was like, did I do that? And they're like, no. I'm like, okay, good. I didn't think I did. You know what I mean? So people always do that. So there's a few problems with that shape. It's like someone took my pants and like lifted me straight up. And I need that sliding. That's why we did the arrow. So again, we had the start. And I've been kind of training the movement. this way, get used to that. Get used to that. And then maybe even get them to slide forward and back here. And then this is also a good exercise, you're like, when I'm not sure if I'm crunched. You're used to this. It's like doing your plank, like you can't do plank like this. It's like doing a plank, getting used to that. So getting used to sliding forward and back. So as I slide back. I'm gonna start to like look under my butt. That's where you go. Again, we wanna think of the spine as or the head as an extension of the spine, and an extension of that. A common problem is also. People straining their neck to look at you when you're doing it, so demo it first for your students if they haven't done it before. And then say, and now, we're gonna do it together, and or you're gonna do it and I'm gonna watch you. You know, and then you're like, okay, go into it and come out. So you allow them to go into it and then come out, before you even hold for the 4 breaths, because you don't want them to go there. And be trapped in that position, you're like, and they're circulating. So the slide, the wrist spread, the toe curl, the lift, the secondary slide, the broadened chest, and then bringing the torso to the body. So let's go to this position. I want to just see you guys set yourself up. We're not going to lift or anything yet. Set yourself up. Slide, go through that little checklist. You're like, yeah, I'm gonna be downward dog chin, sliding forward and back. Got it all, that, too high, too high, too high, too high. Too high, knees stay bent. Did I straighten my legs once? They did not. Good, that one, good. So. And kind of feel like your spine just slide, 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 slide. You gotta keep your knees 90 degrees bent. So turn your mat or turn yourself sideways and look at yourself. There is a mirror. And I don't always recommend to look in the mirror, but it can be. So turn yourself to look in the mirror. And then here. So see my knees are staying 90 degree bent. What's happening? My torso is going. My move is coming to my knee. I'm like literally coming into this position. Yeah. Check yourselves, turn your mat, use the floor, let's have that. Yeah. Because I've taken classes, guys, of people, like gone into classes where I show up as the yoga teacher this week, it's different yoga teacher, and I'm like, hey, we're just working on this week. It's a pandemic, damn we're fun. I would actually recommend also to have your knees further apart, yeah, to make sure you are aware of your hip distance. Elbows soft. Yeah. And then that little lift where it's the low ab lift. There you go. So that low ab lift from here. And then do your little slide back and back. And the goal is, yeah, keep your knees in that shape. Yes, yes, better, 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 better. Yeah, good. You can go with your feet more wide. So think about how wide is your hips. And that will make more room for you to be careful. Keep going, wait. Don't forget to breathe, guys. Yeah, better, good team, good team. Do you feel the difference? Okay. Yeah, good. So, okay, come down, make your wrists a break, start letting your wrists, shake out your wrists. You guys feel that slide? How are you, okay? Yeah, being upside down all the time is a lot. So that slide back. So we want the feeling of this, the torso on the thigh, and we want the feeling of the back. when I was here. So I can get all of those things without straightening my legs. And truthfully, most people have a very difficult time to straighten their leg. It's really, really, really tight. So most people in the modern world, the hamstrings are so tight. So we want to take care of ourselves, we want to take care of our students. So it's just like telling them less is more. People just want to go to the end quotes right away. It's like, bro, like you just like, whoa. Dial it back. Good form is more important. So again, to just go over those points. The hand is wide. The back is long already. So I have my action of sliding. My action of sliding, you notice my elbows are always soft. And then when I have my heels, I push back. As I slide back, now when my torso hits my knees, I can only go up. So then I start to look underneath myself, and my heels are off the floor for now. Some people will always have their heels off the floor, and it's okay. Some teachers stress put the heels to the floor. So here, if it's there for me, that's when I press. But it's not important. You can stay with bent knees. And I'm able to stay here because I'm pushing. My wrists are fine. It's through my, it's like here, my weight. And it's fine, and I can still bend. I'm not like this. Oh, I can still bend. And I can do my 4 breaths here. And then I can, and I'm always gonna be pulling up and in, up and in. I'm kind of looking between my feet. Then I slide. Actually, let me come out the way I went in. So I can have the full downward dog effect with that. That one is just extra for the back of the leg. If I want to think about the torso and the arm and the strength of the ab, the pull in, I can get it all with that. But it's just because downward dog is such a pose, I think it's now in the pop culture. Like I think warrior two and warrior downward dog, that's when people think of yoga. And like those ones. You know what I mean? Dancer pose, when people think of yoga, that's what they think of. I think I'm pretty good at like what's in the pop culture, you know? But there's lots of variations in that because people are so different. Bodies are so different. Okay, so now let's try to go into it again and find what is your expression with bent legs. Let's not even worry about the straight legs right now. Let's try to get going into bent legs. And then we'll do our 4 breaths there. So take your time for your setup. Pretend that you're at your home. You're like, I'm gonna study downward dog today. I'm not even here. So I'll just do a little reminders, but now you're gonna go through all the things that you're interested in. So start with your hands more under the shoulders. Remember the elbows being strong and gecko-ish. Like a gecko. You can bring your come back down to you for a minute. And bring your arms under the Iowa. Now you're gonna try it from there. And then before you would go into straight leg downward dog, you would do a variation called walk the dog. Where you straighten one leg, you're kind of walking it out, but it's not necessary to straighten it out. If you want to try it, go ahead. Just make sure you're breathing, and that can kind of affect you. But your arm is that you're tenting. So come back down. When I say you're tenting, what I mean by that is your peak of your, it's becoming a pyramid and not a slide. Do you know what I mean by that? So a pyramid, the point is in the middle, a slide, the point is to the side. So when you're tenting, your upper body is going like this. They call this, oh, you're tenting. In the downward dog, so we don't want that. We want to be able to just slide back. So if you're noticing that, just come back a few steps before. And then work your way back into it. But anyway, take breaks, open your wrists. Come back down. It is like a physically, it is a physical posture with a lot going. So the energy. When I'm sliding back. It's like I'm taking here. Like someone's pulling your hips straight back. And then I would like alternate my legs. One is on my torso, one is on my torso, one is on my torso. And then I could, but I want this quality where my chest and my upper back are like a hammock. Really, really stretching. Not like this. That, my torso has its full length. And so like that, almost. I have my full length of my torso, so not the full length of my legs. So sometimes your people are thinking that it's like, I have to straighten my whole body, and then it's this. That's the same mind as not folding like this, but folding like this. You know, it's like I'm taking my head to the thing versus I'm pancaking. Yeah, so we wanna think it's kind of like the same action as pancake from here. From here, and even let your knees go more wide and your legs go more wide, it will give you room for this area. And you can think of your open rotating out a little bit to make room for yourself and get a more wider feeling through the pelvic floor and through the hips.
I can't get myself to have, if you say, when my back is tensing, and I
Do
want
it again. Go slow. Put your knees a little further back before you start. And come back down. Yeah, so yeah, make sure, it's because you're not letting your torso be as long as it is, so bring your knees back, yeah. But the arms over here. Yeah, try that. Are you firm on it, so you go. No, you're good. No, you're good.
I was.
Yeah. I think so, let's see. I have a good Tina, so yeah, go in and out of that, but practice a little more bend in the arms, not so you're so stressed in the arms. But so when I'm here, I could still, like, see how my arms can bend? I can hold my strength. It's just more upper body strength, it will come. Yeah, there you go. So yeah, you have this action of going that way. Yeah, that's good. But yeah, you could be more also wide. And also your hands could be more, yeah, come down a little bit. Yeah, that's better for you, yeah. But yeah, making space for your whole length of your body. Okay, come down, girls, I'll show you something. So that is the often a correction that I have a lot for people is if we start like this. See my hips. You need that. Take the medium size too. So. See how my knees so far forward? Versus here. So when I did that, I just made my torso shorter. By that, and sometimes we'll put our arms too far, we want the arms under the shoulders, it's like a table. So I'm further, even going even a little bit more back than tables, I need to have this space here. If I'm crunched here, I don't really have a lot of space to move back, and to slide back, so make sure your torso is as long as possible. Some cues that have been giving me this is when we're here. Like, how is this related? You'll see. So when we're doing this one. And this one, and I'm like, maybe you need to wiggle it and make yourself a little longer, you know, or when we come down into down, make yourself as long as you can. So always account for the room that your body needs to take. Often then we're trying to make ourselves smaller, or we don't have good cryoperception, that means we don't know where the edges of our own body started and begin, it's like that awareness of the body, it will come. When I started doing yoga because my back was like this. I had given childbirth. My abs were exploded. My husband brought me a picture, like a printed picture. And he's like, oh, look at that. And I was like, I looked at the picture, I was like, why didn't you tell me my ass was like that? And he goes, I thought it looked good. And so that's when I was like, no, I can't trust anyone. I'm gonna do yoga myself. Like no one else is gonna know your own body more than you. In my own self, I had no idea. I was like, my ass was like this. Like it was super jacked. And I was like, that doesn't look good. A guy would probably think it looks good. You know, there's no winning answer that a man could have at that time. But yeah, it's like there's nothing he could say that would say, I'm like, why didn't you tell me that? You know, and so that's a really like that deciding factor that I was like, I'm gonna go do it so I'm aware of my own body. Because often people don't know. You know, if you're like this, they don't know that you're kind of off balance. They're not experts and they don't know what feels aligned. I just knew I had back pain, neck pain. And I didn't know why, so that's when I took my matters into my own hands. To teach myself and to learn. So from here, make sure that your knees are far enough back. And it's better to even go farther back than you need than farther forward. Not so far that you're like half planking it like this, you know. But make sure that you're accounting for all your space. The way so I account for my space, be sure to check with the hands, so that roots of the fingers. Bringing the roots of the fingers down, spreading the hand wide, widening the collarbones. All of the cues of all of the poses we've done so far apply even now. I'm gonna curl my toes under. My feet are kind of wide, more than they have been. And I'm gonna start to push back as my knees come up. I push back, back, and slowly my torso will meet my thighs. Yeah, that was great, Phoebe, better, the best one yet. Yeah, but more bend than you need them. Bend your knees more.
Yeah, it's my hands.
Yeah, no, keep your knees more bent. But yeah, your torso has more room. Yeah, bend. Good, yeah, that's the best one so far. Good, yeah, and then resting and don't stay there too long. And then some things, the same exercise to determine are my shoulders up, are my shoulders down? That's a good upper body strength. So us as women, we have more solid lower body and we have weaker upper body. It's how we're built in biology. So just some little exercises. This one is also an exercise for engaging through here, opening through the shoulders. Going into side plank, so going down, sinking, and then extending. And then sinking. And it can also be, we're yin and yang. Yin. I'm stretching, and then yang. I'm activating. Yin is pretty much yin. I can apply, if I'm being lazy and focused in a segment of the body, that's yin. With the intention of stretching it, that's a yin. When I'm active and calisthenic, that's yang, pretty much. So we're yin and yang. Yeah, your feet need to be wider apart. Yeah. But more bent, yeah, that's the back feeling, good, yeah, there you go. Yeah, and then on a mat that you're not even running it. Those are no bends. But yeah, that one your back doesn't look like a shape. Yeah. Yeah.
I can't explain it.
Yeah, and that's the thing, you feel it when you have it, it's not a question, am I doing it, you will know when you slide. But I really want you to focus on is the slide back. How well you can amplify your slide for someone else to see is important, because you need to take, like, not only are you learning this for yourself, but we're learning how to give it to someone else. So I need to make sure that my visual, that I'm very clear on where I'm sending the line of energy. I need that feeling back. So go in. Yeah, go in 1, 1, 2. And it's like this feeling of going back. There you feel like you can slowly, but you don't have to straighten the leg, you can alternate. And then I could even bring the unfamiliar. Yeah, give yourself more like width.
Yeah, no, really.
You got it? You feel that difference? Like?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I always need to give myself more room.
More
and I
than,
think-
you are petite, but
I'm
take,
quite wide.
but take up the first space.
Yeah.
And don't forget to breathe and come down anytime. Yeah, that looks better, more comfortable. Like you can tell when someone's in a pose that it looks stressy or not. And it should have a little stress, because that's the point, we're working, but it should have a little stress. But yeah, give yourself more room, and sometimes you can go bigger. And then just as you get used to like experimenting with things like that, you will start to riff it out. I can't tell you how important that is actually, to riff stuff, to try it. Let's see this. Yeah, hands more under the shoulders when you start. Knees further back, yeah. Watch, look at this. There you go, it's good, yeah. More slide. More slide, yeah. Yeah. So yeah, you want that big feather coming up and back. Yeah, the back is good, and then. And then to kind of practice more the hammock feeling, just do the heart opener pose that we opened with. And that will help you also, like you were saying, with the shoulders rounding forward, or when your back is cracked or cranked.
There's something wrong here.
Your leg could be a little wider and a little further back. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then giving yourself that wideness area. Yeah, and you can do actually the opposite shape just for your body, not to do with this pose, but just for your body, just open through there a little more. Like, yeah, so if you come down out of it. So remember the other day we were talking about yin and feeling it in different places before the target segment? Same with hatha, so maybe like I feel like something's there, spend some time in there. How's the rotation? How does it feel when I try to open? I feel like here, you could use the open a little through there. Yeah. Yeah, hip flexor, but also just through the spine. It's like coming up and connecting through both. Yeah, it's like. And not just hip flexors, but I look for quad muscle. Some of those lunges like we did last night. And then open. But yeah, that was much like more slanted. But yeah, practice that open back feeling like that. And then the slide back. More so. And don't worry, we're gonna spend a lot of time on it because this is like, once you kind of master this, it's gonna go to, and as I'm trying to paint the picture that all of the knowledge of all of the poses applies to all of the poses, you know? So there's that. And yeah, shake that off for now. Let's take our break or take our lunch. Maybe we'll do like 45 minutes because we started later, is that okay? And but yeah, start to get your snacks, your food. We'll come back after lunch, we'll go into, I think, the doshas.